What's up, New York Giants episode of Big Blue Avenue. I'm your host, Tom Scavetta. An interesting week for me in the sports world. I'm a Giants fan. As you know, I'm also a Mets fan, Notre Dame fan. Not a good week to be me if you follow my sports teams. Definitely not. And what better way to celebrate it than come on here and talk about a 2-11 football team, but a fun 2-11 football team. That's right. It has been a fun year to follow best reasons. But folks, before we get into this, make sure to go check us out on all of our handles, social media, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube at Big Blue Avenue. Week 14, our bye week. It was definitely an interesting one. We're definitely going to talk about that and some takeaways quickly here before we bring up our returning guest of the night, George Bristol from upstate New York. Excited to bring him on. I believe this is going to be his third time. So definitely a lot of fun. So the bye week was entertaining. The Giants fired another assistant coach. This soap opera we call, it's sort of like watching General Hospital. Bryan Cox has been fired, the assistant defensive line coach, and it is rumored he got fired over his reaction to airplane seating. How remarkable is that? Mike Kafka said in an interview yesterday that Bryan Cox, you'd have to ask him when it comes to why he got fired. The final straw apparently was the seating arrangement got changed on the flight home from the Patriots game when assistant coaches were moved from the front of the plane to the back. Again, modern day football. I don't know why they're taking airplanes from Boston, Massachusetts back to New Jersey. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but it is what it is. And the assistant coaches were moved from the front of the plane to the back of the plane. And Cox's reaction was the final straw. Again, assistant D-line coach, the Giants defense has not been able to stop the run for the past 2 to 3 years. So, you know what? Good riddance. Good riddance, 100%. Other news, the Giants, as of today, claim a wide receiver off waivers from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Ryan Miller. 2025 UDF or 2024 UDFA out of Furman. Ryan Miller this season played in 13 games with 3 starts for the Buccaneers, a team that was devastated with injuries at the wide receiver position. No Mike Evans and Chris Godwin for majority of the season. They waive Ryan Miller to make room for those guys returning. Miller on the year, 2 catches for 30 touchdown, and over his first 2 seasons, he scored 2 touchdowns. 25 years old, 6'2", 221. He's played in 25 career games with 6 starts, and also a good factor here, he has played 205 special team snaps in his career. I would totally cut Jalen Hyatt straight up for this guy. There's no reason to keep Hyatt around, in my opinion, but other moves that they have made to make clearance for this guy, among others, they released Ray McLeod and DB Miles Purchase from the practice squad, and they brought back Xavier Gibson, another practice squad receiver. And the interesting news of the week was they added a punter, Cameron Johnston, 33 years old, played in Buffalo this year for a couple of games. Spent his early stage of his career with the Philadelphia Eagles, then the Houston Texans as well. Jamie Gillen is dealing with an injury, so it'll be interesting to see who starts at punter for the Sunday. So what do you know? We have an injured kicker and an injured punter. That's the definition of this season. And the Giants also brought back a familiar face. They bring back defensive tackle Casey Rogers to the practice squad. If you follow Bobby Skinner and the Giants Nation show, you know Rogers was the first man out at pretty much all of the training camp sessions 2 off seasons ago. And also the Giants have designated 4 players to return from injured reserve: linebacker Darius Muasau, cornerback Art Green, wide receiver Bo Collins, and offensive lineman Josh Azudu. So that's pretty much where we're at as a football team right now. Folks, make sure to like this video, share with your friends. Definitely helps with the algorithm of the show, so we do appreciate that. And also feel free to drop a comment throughout. We would love to chat with you over the course of the evening. So let's get into our week 15 preview. The Giants hosting the Washington Commanders. Giants are somehow favored in this game by 2.5. Giants are 2-11. Commanders are 3-10. Giants have lost 7 games in a row. Commanders have lost 8 games in a row. So it's the final 4 games of the stretch this season. 3 of the final 4 Giants games will be played at MetLife Stadium. Now, without wasting any more time, let's bring up the man, the myth, the legend, George Bristol. Welcome back, George. How are you doing? How was your bye week? What's going on?
Not much. How are you? I actually saw you on the bye week, but your brother's wedding, my best friend, had a great time in the city. Didn't watch much football for a change. It was kind of nice, actually. The Giants couldn't disappoint. That's about it. What about yourself?
Yeah, not bad. Obviously, big weekend for our family. You know, the older brother got married. I wonder if he picked that weekend knowing. I don't know if he'll ever admit it to you, but you brought it up in your speech that Danny, and because the Giants were on a bye. Are you buying or selling that? Because I'll be honest with you, I don't even know the answer to that.
I'm going to say probably not, but
Yeah.
the season's so bad anyway. I wouldn't hold up anything for a wedding. You know what I mean? Like,
No.
it would have to be a great season in the middle of, and even then you plan these things out so far ahead. I bet he didn't know.
Yeah. There was a football table at the cocktail hour, by the way. Shout out to Dan the man. And Pops is saying hello. What's up, Dad? Good to see you, George. He probably did, Thomas. Maybe. But on a typical bye week, how would you spend it, and what was different this year compared to last year's? Because obviously the Giants bye week this year was very different from usual years. Week 14 is late to have a bye. I don't like it. I don't like the scheduling of it, and quite frankly, George, it did not go by without any drama. Another assistant coach got fired this past week. So all in all, did you separate yourself from the team this week outside of the wedding? Of course, like what went on this week different compared to previous seasons?
Well, when the bye week is in week 14 and your schedule was as difficult as the Giants schedule was, which, not to bring this up, but it's a good segue. Why why have the hardest schedule given to this team and then a week 14 bye week? I mean, insanity. Like, compared to, let's say, the Patriots schedule, who in theory was a stronger team, weaker schedule, makes no sense. Um, this year, I gotta be honest with you, this team has me so disconnected. Like, I watch, I follow, I pay attention, but I'm not surprised by anything anymore. I'm not excited by much anymore. I'm just hoping no one gets, mortally wounded in these games and just is healthy for next year at this point. But the wedding obviously was a big, weekend thing, so I didn't really get to pay attention too much to college or NFL. But typically on a bye week, I actually sit back and enjoy watching other teams play meaningful football the last couple of years.
It's definitely nice to disconnect. But I think the Giants lost their bye week. I think more bad happened than good. An episode of the in-season Hard Knocks was also released. This cussing at his team during a team meeting on Hard Knocks. I thought we couldn't get any worse than the same 2 off seasons ago, but this kind of ties into my next question, George. And if you don't know, that's okay, because I'm having trouble answering this question myself. Are the Giants less of a circus at all?
No, it's just got it's just got a different head at the table. That's all it is. This is a coaching problem. This is a player problem. This is an ownership problem. It's a management problem. Every part of the ship is hemorrhaging water, um, and these kind of problems don't get fixed overnight. Kafka is just a band aid to get through the season. We all know that's not going to really go anywhere. I think he'll still be a coordinator or a coach in the league at some level. It probably won't be with the Giants. Whoever they bring in is probably gonna is best to bring in a whole new regime. Management's on his last legs. Joe Shane, this is really put up or shut up time for him. And I also give it on the Maras and the Tishes. These are problems this team's had, going back to, the later stages of Eli Manning's career. They didn't really have a great plan for that transition. And all that did was just kind of blow into where we are now and a couple other bad financial moves on top of it. And here we are, at least next year we'll get some of the money back. We do have some young talent. There is some promise to us. But as far as right now, we are a complete circus.
Well said. Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with that. So, I guess with that being said, what are you hoping to get out of these last 4 weeks? Because the schedule is quite interesting, right? We've got the Commanders this week, a game that I think we've gone to actually, not together, but we've both attended the Giants-Commanders home game. We tailgated together for that each of the last 2 seasons. That's always a fun game, regardless of what the records are. Then you got the Raiders, the Vikings, and the Cowboys. We know Dallas is fighting for a playoff spot, but I'm going to be honest with you, George. This is not a bad trade for the G-men. I think at least 2 of these games are winnable. So what are you hoping to get out of this? Are you? I know Giants right now, they're slated with that number 1 overall pick, but I think there is growth and development that could be especially with the young rookie QB Jackson Dart and Abdul Carter.
I think Jackson Dart getting a little more time behind the driver's wheel is going to be great. A little more game time for him. Maybe work on some of those issues he has with sliding or going out of bounds. He says he's never going to change, but law of averages says he should change. Abdul Carter, do your best to prepare this week, maybe, so you're not a sideline story like you have been for, I don't know, the past 6 weeks. I'm getting kind of sick of that. I don't know. And I'll tell you what, if we could spoil a Cowboy playoff berth, I'll take that. Raiders are not impressive. The Vikings are kind of going downhill. The Redskins themselves are another shit show. So as far as watching good football, I think your best bet might be the Cowboys-Giants game to wrap up the season. The game this Sunday, I'm not really expecting it to be a barn burner. Same with the Raiders game. These are just all teams looking for their identity, really.
Yeah, I think identity is the key word, because I'm sort of lost with what is this team's identity, right? Ever since Saquon left, I don't really have one. It could be the energy that the young guys like Dart brings and what Scadaboo brought. But Scadaboo, who was the closest thing to an identity, is on the shelf until next year. And by the way, I did see he has made some progress. He is walking on his own again, which is great news. He doesn't need help from his girlfriend anymore. So that's excellent news. He was at the Rockefeller Christmas tree, sighting over the weekend.
He's everywhere.
He's fighting guys.
He's everywhere.
Yeah, he really is everywhere. And I think it's safe to say that he is the future of this Giants backfield. I know, Tracy and Singletary are sort of platooning right now, but, I definitely think that there is an identity that's being built, but they need Scadaboo to come. I don't think it's done with Dart alone. So I think we both handled that questioned well. Now, theoretically speaking, right? I mentioned before, Giants are number one. If these last 4 weeks go down the shitter and we win one or none of these games, what would you do if the team ended up with the top overall pick come April? Would you trade back? Would you sit there and pick? What would you do at this juncture?
Well, a lot's going to happen between now and April as far as the players and their jockeying for, likelihood of where they're going to be picked or where they're supposed to be picked, I should say. I would probably trade back if we had the number one pick. I know there's a few teams that are going to be in need of a quarterback, and in theory, we are not. So if we can get any kind of trade, either involving money, players, picks, whatever, maybe go 2-for-1 in the first and then chase down a receiver and maybe a linebacker or something like that in the first or second round, or double or triple up in the second round. I think that pick will have some value more than us just drafting, the highest rated offensive lineman. I'm not going to play that game again. I'm sure there's plenty of teams, like I said, the Jets are going to be looking. There's plenty of teams that are going to want to move up a little bit from where they are, for sure.
Is there any specific spot you'd want to trade back to, or is it sort of too soon to tell? Like what?
I was trying to look at it earlier. It's kind of too hard to tell. I mean, I'm assuming there's going to be at least two quarterbacks in contention for top 3 picks. So I go to teams that desire quarterbacks. Those are guys who are going to most likely want to trade because they're not going to be available by the time they pick 4, 5, 6, 7, so on and so forth. So if they can get like a 2-for-1 on the first round pick or a good player, some money, whatever it is, and then, like I said, maybe go after a mid-round wide receiver, maybe a linebacker, maybe someone for the secondary. I kind of like the offensive line where it is right now. I think it needs a little bit of tweaking, but I think it's very serviceable considering how bad it's been in the past. I think the defense needs a total overhaul. But again, this is all stuff that coaching and management are going to come up with too. So it probably won't even be Kafka's decision to make.
Yeah, it might not even be Joe Shane's decision to make. I mean, we'll see. I mean, this is the final exam for him, sort of, these last 4 games. Can you get a passing grade in these last 4 games? Or, no pun intended, will he get the bare minimum required to pass? I think if he does, he gets fired because that's not good enough. I would like the games because I still think you'd be in contention for a top 2 pick if that's the case. But we'll see. Next up, I want to talk about some of the X's and O's of this game. Right now, you've seen the Commanders play at MetLife at least the last 2 seasons, right?
Yeah.
They're a team. They went to the NFC Championship game last year, and now all of a sudden, and it large part because Jaden Daniels, their young star quarterback who had this awesome rookie year, has gotten hurt on 3 separate occasions. He had his arm snapped on Sunday Night Football, and then he tried to come back last week while we were doing Jameson and stuff and making speeches. This guy got hurt again. His left elbow again. He is paper thin. He is not durable at all. And to add to that, Zach Ertz tears his ACL at 35 years old. This team is in bad shape. I am not shocked at all that the Giants are favored in this game. And has gotten close to beating a lot of really good teams. And against this Commanders defense, they're giving up the 3rd most yards in the NFL. What is the key to exploiting that, quite frankly, that old, ailing defense?
Yeah, it's just going to be protection up front, giving Jackson Dart time to move around, run around, extend his plays the way he does. Look for Theo Johnson, the big target. Look for Wandale in the slot, 7, 8, 9 catches, and then have 1 or 2 rainbows to everybody else, basically. I think this game's going to be close, though. I don't think the Giants come in there and just, run this team over by any stretch. The Giants are playing a terrible brand of football, and so are the Commanders. So I wouldn't be shocked if this is an ugly game. A lot of turnovers, couple of goofy plays as we have. Hopefully, we can kick a field goal this week of some sort. But until the Giants stop a team in the fourth quarter, I really don't know how I can say, yeah, they're going to definitely win or definitely lose. I mean, the proof's in the pudding this season, how many games they blew in the fourth quarter, regardless who the opponent was. This should be, with that being said, this should be one of the easier games on the schedule to win. I mean, like you just said, the third most yards in the NFL. They have an older defense. The offense has a couple of good receivers, a running back room that's also decimated with injuries. Quarterback, we're on a backup, Marcus Mariota. He's serviceable. I don't know. It's going to be NFC East football. That's what you get. You're going to get some skirmishes, some fights. You're going to get the usual NFC stuff. But other than that, I think both teams are just not very good. So I wouldn't be shocked if they cut away from this game at some point to keep showing highlights of something else.
George's confidence, we could tell, is at an all-time high heading into this game.
Well, how am I supposed to be?
No, you're right.
You know what I mean?
You're right.
These are two teams that just did not have the season go the way they expected to at all, especially the Commanders, because they were kind of built to be a playoff contender coming out of the NFC East. I mean, they were supposed to be like the wild card sweetheart team, and then injuries just kind of took over.
They certainly took over, but I think we could beat this team. I get it. Mariota's one of the better backups in the league, but I truthfully think post-bye you get an extra week of rest. Trying to get to 1,000 yards this year. Tracy and Singletary. I know Tracy's a little banged up with the hip flexor, but he's expected to play. And then you got Singletary, who's a veteran back that could, their 1-2 punch of Rodriguez and Krosky Merritt. That'll be tough to outmatch. But I think we're going to see a much better game than 21-6, like we saw in week 1. I mean, that was disgusting. They couldn't stop Deebo Samuel, right? Russ started that game, obviously. And the Commanders, I mean, they outrushed the Giants 220-74, and then they outgained them 432-231. There's no way we get that game twice, especially with Jackson Dart at quarterback. My question is, how does the game plan change on defense when preparing for Marcus Mariota rather than Jaden Daniels? We know Mariota could move, but he's not going to run for 60, 70 yards like Jaden Daniels would.
Excuse me. No, he's not. Mariota's a pretty smart quarterback, though. He's going to know his reads. He's good with film, from what I gather. So I think, obviously Jaden Daniels is more of a threat, right? Like, the ceiling is much higher on what Jaden Daniels can do to a defense to Mariota. But I mean, with that being said, we're a defense who's not playing well. Like it's not like we're the steel curtain coming in there. We, I don't know where we rank, but I'm pretty sure it's not that far from the worst. I think Burns is gonna be able to get to Mariota easier than Daniels. I would like to say the same thing for Abdul Carter. As far as the receiving matchup goes, though, I mean, Scary Terry and Deebo Samuel, I mean, the secondary is going to be busy on Sunday, regardless whether they catch the ball, break up the pass, give up a pass play, get an interception. They're going to be challenged pretty much every down. And, I just hope they're ready for that.
Stuff because Cliff Kingsbury has done a good job with Mariota this season. And yeah, I mean, we know the Giants have the worst, or now second worst, thanks to I believe it was Vegas last week. Bottom 2 run defense. We know Charlie Bolin is now the interim defensive coordinator, who I thought had a couple really nice sound bites in the presser today. He definitely has a different mentality compared to Bowen, so that's a sigh of relief, even if it's only for these last 4 weeks. The defense, whether we allowed 24 plus in 7 straight, the yards per carry this season they've given up are the most in the Super Bowl era. And then 31st and giving up 154 yards per game. So, I mean, if you can't stop the run, Brian Burns won't be able to do what he does best. You know, he had 2 sacks in this game in week 1, but a lot of those were just him beating his man. You know, you mentioned this last couple times we, did the show together. The scheme is whack. Brian Burns is just good enough to get to the quarterback. There's no disguise blitzes. These, NASCAR formations don't exist anymore with the Giants. And Burns does not have a sack in his last 4 games. Are teams starting to figure this guy out? And how does he get to Mariota on Sunday?
I don't know if they're figuring him out. I mean, when you have that freakish level of athleticism, you generally rise above whatever comes at you. But I think a little bit of it is a camaraderie, morale kind of problem with everybody, not just Burns. I think Dexter Lawrence is feeling it. I think Bobby Okereke is feeling it. I think there's certain guys that are seen as leaders in that locker room that through this assault of losing these games, I'm not saying they don't give a shit, but every Sunday I watch the post-game interviews, and you can read it on their face. You could read their expressions. Like, they are just sick of this shit. So I think if you do that long enough, it does kind of build a mentality where you start second-guessing yourself. Not to mention you have another defensive coordinator, so Lord knows what he has changed or not changed. I think the whole team at times looks helpless. You got so many players that are just looking around at each other after every play, and they're just like, how the hell does this keep happening? They've had multiple videos of Brian Burns after the game throwing his helmet and screaming and letting some aggression out. Dexter Lawrence, who I've probably watched every post-game interview of his since he came into the league. He used to be like the jolly old man. He's telling everybody what he thinks of the game. He's doing this. He's cracking jokes. Now he's just standing there like, when is this going to be over? And he's answering some questions, and then he's getting chippy with the beat writers. He's sick of it. And Abdul Carter, like, you have players calling you out, you have retired players calling you out, you have the whole WFAN organization calling you out, Tiki Barber's calling you out, Giants Nation, Justin Pennick, we're calling him out. I don't know how many people he has to hear this from to understand he's wrong. He's been wrong. And I think Dable was just covering this shit up when he was still the coach. And for whatever reason, Kafka is like, no, I'm not jacking that. So now it's coming out more to the light. But these are a lot of, and I'm not even talking about the secondary yet, which from a teammate standpoint, I think is doing okay as a group, but they're just, sucking. So when you put this all in one big pot, this is what we get.
Yeah. No, I think that's well said. I mean, Abdul Carter, there was a clip on Hard Knocks. I don't know if you saw it. This was totally fake, by the way. I mean, it was a real clip, but the takeaway was fake. They said he was sleeping on Hard Knocks. That was not the case. What they did was somebody screenshotted a candid of him going like this in a meeting, looking up at the ceiling, and they thought he was sleeping in the clip. And of course, people now, they take it and they run with this stuff. Unfortunately, this is what they do. They have to make news out of it. We know he's been sleeping through meetings this season, but an excuse for the guy. But I think better coaching will help repair him. Sometimes coaches make their players. Players have talent, but how far does talent get you if you don't put in the work, right? If you don't uh, give 110% in practice, you're not going to look like that all-pro player that Brian Burns is, or a Mac. You're not going to see those results on game day. So are you hitting the panic button on him, like as a potential bust, or are you just like waiting to see what happens next year under a new coaching staff? I'm leaning towards the latter right now. Like, I'm not freaking out, but I'm definitely a little, if that makes sense. Like, I'm more towards panic, but I'm not pressing it just yet. I want to see what happens under a new coach and a new defensive scheme.
No, I agree. I'm not panicking. I mean, I've been through this before with many first round busts, and at the end of the day, you really have no idea whether they're going to come and produce or blossom at their position as they age into the league and get used to the change of play. I mean, DeAndre Baker was supposed to be, you know, a great member of the defense, and I don't think he was in the league much longer than 2 years. Kadarius Toney as a wide receiver, that pick was terrible. If you didn't know he had personal problems in any of those pre-draft interviews, shame on you, because I could tell from my couch. I don't think Abdul Carter has that much of a negative as those guys do. He kind of came in as the fun-loving kid, Penn State, this defensive lineage, you know what I mean? Coming into a Giants defensive-minded organization. I want LT's number, blah, 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 blah. We all made fun of him for that. And, I feel like a lot of fans were just waiting for him to have that moment, right? Or have that game where we're like, oh, shit, this is the guy. He's the future of the defense. We're still waiting for it. And one thing I hate as a fan is the back page of the New York Post being something negative about a player on my team. You know what I mean? If we have a bad day on the field and you want to throw a couple jokes out there, I'm good with that. But when it's about preparation or sleeping or not showing up on time or being lazy on the field, I hate that stuff. That's more of a mindset than something that can be taught or something that can be removed. Sometimes that's a personality problem. He's young. He's got great guys around him. He has plenty of mentors on that defense. Excuse me. Between Okereke, Burns, maybe even Thibodeau, Dexter Lawrence. These are all guys that have kind of been through his position before, and hopefully they can guide him a little bit better.
Yeah, and I think I'd be more concerned if a guy like Kayvon Thibodeau was getting results this season, because he's not getting results either. He's only got 2.5 sacks. Dexter Lawrence only has 1, I think, possibly even just a half. So for that reason, I'm not freaking out about Abdul Carter individually. I'm freaking out about the coaching and the actual scheme that they're running in. It is not. And I think there were tweaks Shane Bowen made this offseason that really tried to hammer in, oh, we want to be more focused on stop, but you don't have the personnel to do it, right? A lot of these guys, who we love, by the way, like a Micah McFadden or a Bobby Okereke, these guys were brought onto the team when Wink was still defensive coordinator. Micah McFadden, quarterback type of linebacker. He's a good player. He's not a superstar, though. We haven't had him all season long. We're in such bad shape. People are excited about Darius Muasau coming back. We were excited that 1 week where Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles was playing well. And if that's what we're excited about, that tells you everything you need to know about our personnel, and it falls on Joe Schoen. I thought his bye-week presser was a lot of chicken shit, to be honest with you. I mean, it's just it was all PR. That's all it was. There's a lot more negative going on that we don't know about, which is I'm kind of glad. that were on Hard Knocks during the season, because when I have time to sit there and watch this, I'm going to be laughing my ass off, because this is not a good look. I'm sick and tired of losing. And, if we want to attract a good coach, like, maybe a Chris Shula, a Mike Tomlin, or if he gets let go, guys like that, you might have to start over and get a new GM. Otherwise, those guys won't happen. They won't happen. And you want to see progress in these final 4 games, for sure. But enough about individual players. George, let's get into some players that we want to highlight before Sunday's game, guys that we think might have an impact. Obviously, the Giants ranked 14th in the NFL in yards of offense per season. So the offense as a whole has been a bright spot, right? They've scored points. They've played well against good teams. They put up 32 points on the Denver Broncos, and they still lost the game. No team has been able to put up 32 or more on Denver in a game this season. Think about that. How special is this offense? And I feel like there's a chance they could carry us to victory on a lot of similar issues that we do, except they're older and more experienced. They have the oldest roster in the NFL. So there's a lot of players on both sides that I think could have an impact on this game. And I think, one we do have to talk about is quarterback Jackson Dart, right? Our outside of the hits and stuff, I would give him an A, maybe an A- this season so far. I know he's 2, but there's been a lot of top tier competition, and he doesn't have weapons around him, right? That's who I'm watching. Are you watching him too? Who else do you think might have a key impact on this game?
I think Jackson Dart is. Honestly, I think the whole game offensively is going to rise or fall on Jackson Dart's play. If he could stay on the field the whole game is going to be part of it too. There's some heavy hitters on that older defense, and they don't really care if he gets out over the middle trying to stretch something. Bobby Wagner is not scared to lay him out. You also got to deal with Deron Payne, Laramie Tunsil, Frankie Uvu. You got a ton of guys on this team who can hit pretty hard, and I'd be a little nervous if I were him, especially trying to, like what he did last week or 2 weeks ago with the Patriots when he tried to tiptoe on the sideline. These guys are going to light him up just as hard, if not harder. I also want to keep an eye on Wan'Dale Robinson. He's turning into one of my favorite one of my favorite Giants. He's like the little engine that could type guy. He had a couple of drop issues earlier in his career, plus the injury. But he seems like he wants to stay there. He's a great slot player. He also is elusive. I wouldn't be shocked if he gets 7, 8, 9 catches for, 70 yards, something like that. But I think he's going to have a big game. This is going to be a breakout year for him, also in a contract year. So he'll be worth the moon and the stars if he gets 1,100 yards or whatever, a couple more touchdowns. Yeah, that's about it. Our run game, I'm not expecting anything crazy, just what we've been doing. The little committee getting 70, 80, 90 yards combined, maybe eke out a touchdown. That's what we've been doing. Am I wrong?
Yeah, and Dart has been contributing to that a lot. Dart's been the leading rusher in quite a few of these games. He averages 34 rushing yards on the ground. And, I think the reason why I wanted to highlight him is because you remember something. The Giants didn't have Andrew Thomas in week 1 when these teams played last. And Russ was still able to move the ball a bit. They just couldn't score points. With Dart, they could actually score points, which is why I'm really looking at him in this game, plus his 18-4 touchdown to turnover ratio. And another guy who's really a rookie, but he's not on paper, J.J. McCarthy, right, for the Vikings. When they played Washington last week, McCarthy had 3 touchdown passes. 3. And this is a guy...
And he's looked awful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They're ready to push him out the door almost.
Yeah, and I think maybe it's injuries or something because before he had the injury this season, he looked pretty good in that Chicago game. But then other than that, it's more about Washington's defense than anything. You actually have a good quarterback that could make plays down the field to guys like Wandale, who leads the Giants receiving core by at least 350 yards. He's got 828 receiving yards on the year, 320 yards after catch as well. So, that's a guy that I'm looking at. See if, Mike Sanders still picks him up. And then if there's one guy on defense that I have to talk about, obviously Brian Burns is the guy going up against Laramie Tunsil. He had 2 sacks against them in week 1. I think he gets back on track, gets another sack this week. By the way, despite not getting a sack in each of the last 4 weeks, he is still second in the NFL in sacks. So it speaks volumes about how good of a player he is. But what about Washington, George? What players for them are you keeping an eye on?
You just mentioned him, probably Mikey Sanderstrill. He's pretty good at breaking up the pass, interceptions, good coverage. Something I would like to see in some players that wear blue on Sunday, but I don't know who he'll take. I don't know if he'll take Wandale or not. He'll probably take the go routes up the seam, but he might just stay on Wandale. Depends what the Giants do. If they might look more tight end, running back kind of thing early, and then try to set up, the longer routes with the receivers and see who they pick up. I have no doubt Wagner's going to be all over Johnson, though. Match made in heaven, 2 bigger, slower, players. But
yeah, Bobby Wagner, the Commanders, they were late releasing the injury report today, so I couldn't get it in my notes before the show. But I know Wagner did not practice on Wednesday with a knee, but he's played through it. But you never know when you got a 35-year-old linebacker. So I'm not 100% sure if he's going to be a full go, but I do expect him to play. You kind of brought up Frankie Louvu as well. That's a guy that I like for them, another good tackle machine. Deron Payne has been there for almost an eternity at this point. There's so many good players, right? I mean, that have played for both of these franchises. Like, look at Jesse Armstead is a perfect example, right? Back in your day, you grew up watching him.
Yeah.
He was always a player to watch in these games, right? He always played well, it seemed, against Washington. I feel like we don't have that guy that dominates this series. In fact, the one player we did have was Daniel Jones, who dominated Washington. He always played well against Washington. So,
well, I think guys step up against, these division rivals. We could all be the whole division could not have one win, and we will play each other to the death. That's one thing about the NFC East that you don't see in every other division. That's one thing I would say, that these games are always good just for that fact. They get chippy. Whether it's a blowout, it gets chippy. When it's a tight game, it gets chippy. Carl Banks also played for the Redskins for a little bit.
He did.
He's probably not proud of that, but I think he played for the Browns too for a little bit towards the end.
That I did not know.
I'm pretty sure he did. I'm almost positive. A lot of guys. Bavaro left town. Where he went. He was an Eagle for a little bit at the end of his career.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
They follow the dollar. Don't let them fool you. They follow the dollar. I don't think Lawrence Taylor would have donned another jersey, but most of the guys will follow the dollar.
What was crazy was Banks and Bavaro also both played for the Browns.
Right.
After the Giants. I know Banks had that 1 year with the Redskins, and then Bavaro, Eagles and Browns, I think.
Yeah.
And then for Banks, it was Redskins, Browns. So, yeah, that's crazy. And then you look at some of the more recent guys like David Mayo, who else? Nick Gates.
You got to think though, was that something in the '80s to pick up on maybe some of the mindset stuff of the playbook? You never know.
Yeah, I feel like back then, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, guys changed teams less. I feel like back then, guys changed teams when they were getting replaced and try to extend their career. There wasn't a lot of this switching. Oh, we want to get paid. I feel like you stayed a lot of good players, like players that made it, stayed with the team that drafted them until they got old and it was time for teams to replace them. Would you agree with that sense? Would you agree with that sentiment or not really?
No, yeah, I totally agree. I think that the late '80s, the Giant, early '90s, the Giants were kind of coming out of that Super Bowl era team, whether it was due to age, you know, uh, people kind of forget the end of Lawrence Taylor's career wasn't that great. He kind of started to fall apart pretty quick as far as playing, got bigger, heavier, slower. The league at the same time got faster. Um, Coaching too. That was like the departure of Parcells. Um, so that team was getting kind of mixed up. So it would make sense for guys like uh, Carl Banks and you know to change positions, but they didn't really replace those guys with anything much better. I mean, they didn't really get decent again until the late '90s, so they were kind of fumbling through that era as well.
Before we get to stealing a player and going over our predictions, there's two more guys for Washington I want to point out, and I'm surprised I haven't brought them. Either one of us have brought them up yet. Von Miller is still on the commies. In fact, he leads them in sacks this season with 6. So you have Durance Armstrong with 5.5, Jacob Martin with 4.5. But Von Miller played with Buffalo last year, spent most of his career with Denver. This is a guy who can get to the quarterback. Him against Andrew Thomas or Jermaine Illuminor should be a lot of fun. I'm happy for him that he's still going, but that speaks to the age of his defense. And then on offense, one other guy that I think will have a real impact on this game is Deebo Samuel. He played really well the last time these guys played. 7 catches for 77 yards in week 1. And I think he's going to have to do something like that again because one other issue the Commanders have had this year is their penalty situation. They had 12 penalties against us in week 1, and they have not slowed down at all. They're top 3 in the NFL in flags this year. So I expect this to be a very dirty, flag-filled, low-scoring game. I think at best we get to low 20s in this game. I don't see it going past that. Do you see it going past that? I don't see it.
It's going to be an ugly game. You're not going to get the game of the year. You're not going to get a game we're going to talk about for the next 10 years. I don't think. I mean, I could be dead wrong, but I think it's going to be just a good NFC East battle. You're going to, like I said, you're going to see the chippiness. You're going to see the late hits. You're going to see some questionable stuff. But you're also going to see a lot of flags. You're going to see some interceptions. You're going to see some drop passes. You might even see a kicker fall down or something. You never know. It's too. No, I mean it's 2 clown shows coming to the circus. You know what I mean? Like we're just going to see who's slightly better than the other one that day. That's just what I think.
And then some injury news here. The Commies get Sam Cosmi back at right guard, who missed early on in the season. And then defense too. That's another old guy I forgot about. And oh my God, Antonio Hamilton Sr. is their starting left cornerback right now. Antonio Hamilton Sr. played for the Giants in 2018 and 2019. Wow. Completely forgot about it. A quick comment here from Goofball saying, "What's up? The greatest mustaches amongst Giants content creators." Rob and Drew. I mean, Drew and Rob, you guys are up there too. You guys have mustaches too? I'm pretty sure you do. I know Drew is from Florida, but you guys got some good facial hair too. You don't see it as much anymore, George. No, like that look that you have right there, right? Like I kind of have like the goatee look. You got like the curvy one. You got the cool one.
Well, I didn't really want this. My job deemed this is what is acceptable again. So for a while, we were allowed to have beards, and then they changed it. So I couldn't go pure baby face. So this is where we end up with.
I see.
That's what
Drew's
we used
got
to
the
be able
full
to
on
have.
beard.
We used to be able to have the full on beards, but now we can't.
The way nature intended. Yeah. Um, what are you? A state trooper? Job required? LOL. Yeah.
State law enforcement, but not a trooper. I'll leave it at that.
I don't know if you're allowed to talk too much about that, but yeah, no, thank you for the comments, goofballs. Definitely like talking with you guys. Yeah, George, who are you stealing from Washington and putting on the Giants?
Probably Mikey Sandstro. We need a physical physical cornerback who doesn't have the penalty discipline of Drew Phillips. And that's what I love this secondary, like on paper. It's just it's not working in practice. Does that make any sense?
For the Giants, right?
Yeah. I love Tyler Newman. I don't like Deontay Banks, but I like Drew Phillips. Dane Belton, I think, is great coming off the bench. I like the mix they have. It's just not working. And I think Banks is a big part of that. Like, you got to remember, in theory, they drafted Banks to be the starting cornerback at this point. Cordell Flott shouldn't be outshining Deontay Banks on paper. But that's where we are.
Yeah, 100%. For me,
I think a guy like Sandstro coming into the Giants team takes over that CB1 spot. Physical brand of play, breaks stuff up. I mean, he's not perfect. Nobody is, but that's who I would trade for.
Or pair him with Flott and Adebo. I think that would be good stuff there. For me, I'm gonna go with. Oh man, you know what? I'm gonna go with Jake Moody, the kicker. To be honest with you, I don't trust Koo. It's a divisional game. This game could very 3 points, and say what you want about Moody. I know he's a journeyman. Moody does not miss from within 40 yards. This guy is pretty automatic. So he's played for 2 teams this season, the Bears and the Commies. Within 40 yards this season, he is 7 for 7 within 40 yards this year. Younghoe Koo can't stay the same. Jude McAtomney can't say the same. Graham Gano can't even say the same. So I'm going to go with Jake Moody here. I know that's kind of like
it makes sense.
A cop-out pick. Like you want somebody.
Not really, no. Our kicking's been awful. Our holding's been awful. Our punting's been awful. Like the whole thing's been awful.
All in all, I'm trying to think back, George. Like how many games this year were decided by kicking? Like how many losses we have were decided by, and you can't just blame it on that, right? I mean, the team collapsed in Denver as a whole, but if McAtomney makes just one of those extra points, at worst, we're in overtime.
But you can't put the carriage before the horse. The reason we have to go with McAtomney and Younghoe Koo and whoever else we're going to need to patch through this year is because we stayed with a guy like Graham Gano who had obvious injury problems and was aging. We should have moved away from Gano 2 years ago. Or at least have the plan to do it. But we gave him I don't want to say benefit of the doubt, but we gave him we like him. He's a nice guy. When he's real good, he's good. But we didn't respect the fact that he was declining. And then on top of that, his injuries were mounting in multiple places of his body. It's not a returning injury. It's just over and over again, different injuries. And that's what puts you in this position of finding all these guys that other teams are cutting or not giving an opportunity because it's Tuesday and you need a guy to fly on Friday.
And it's been going on for 3 years.
Yeah.
3 years.
That's a
It's not a
management
one-off
problem.
thing. It's not a one-off thing anymore.
Yeah.
There's another reason why Joe Shane should get fired, no? 100%. It's frustrating. I love talking about this team, but I hate it at the same time. It's a privilege, though. I'll tell you that. Before we get into our game predictions, I want to say Gunnar Olszewski has made some progress. He is trying to clear the strict concussion protocol process. He would have missed last week's game if the Giants did have a game. At this time, he's not cleared it yet. If he does not, expect Deontay Banks back there with Devin Singletary returning kicks. That hit was brutal on him in the New England game. Did you see that hit? I think that hit was worse than what Dart took on the sideline, personally.
No, let me tell you something. That special teams and defense under Mike Vrabel, there is a noticeable difference in how hard those guys are hitting. They are playing to win. You know, people talk about their schedule being soft and all that, but you can tell the defense and special teams especially has a heightened level of intensity for sure.
Absolutely. And then one other note, Kayvon Thibodeau is nursing a shoulder injury. He's expected to play limited practice. And then Jamie Gillen is at risk. That's why the Giants went out and got Cameron Johnson to the practice squad. So there's a chance the Giants could be down to their third kicking option this season. So basically their third string kicker. I know Micah Tomney is gone, but basically down to your third kicker and a potential backup punter. This is the 2025 New York Football Giants, ladies and gentlemen. With that being said, game predictions time. George, who do you got? What's your final score?
I'm going to go 17-14 New York Giants. Home field advantage, I think. I shouldn't even say that anymore. I used to think that, but end of the year, maybe some of the season ticket holders are selling it to Commanders fans. Every game I've been to at MetLife the last 2 years, it seems like it's a 50-50 split in the house or close to that. But I do think the Giants will prevail. This is probably the game they should win out of the remaining games. 17-14, Giants up.
Last time a Giants player said that on the sideline, it turned out to be some great fortune and foreshadowing. So, George, maybe you have the Michael Strahan touch in your brain tonight. For me, I went back and forth on this. Ultimately, obviously I'm biased, but the Giants own this rivalry. Washington's not good this year. They're not sweeping the Giants this season, especially with a healthy Jackson Dart at quarterback. So give me the Giants. I'm gonna go final score of 22 to 17 Giants. I think what the Giants do is they wind up going for two on one of those touchdowns. So we'll see. We'll see what happens on Sunday, George. It's going to be an interesting game. I'll be watching it. I mean, it's basically the toilet bowl, right? Remember 2019, we had that tight end we had, Caden Smith, scored a touchdown that helped Washington get Chase Young in the draft.
19 and 20. There was a lot of teams that were obviously trying to tank. Sure.
Yeah, man, that was so long ago. And
wasn't Ryan Fitzpatrick on the Dolphins?
He was
on the Dolphins, and they pretty much told him don't do anything to win a game.
Yep, that was 2019.
Tanking for Tua.
Well, they should have tanked They should have tanked for Justin Herbert. I'll tell you that much. What a world we live in. Phillip Rivers is back. Like, I mean, we could sit here and talk about that too. I don't want to keep, but
No, you're good.
man, just quick footnote on how historic this week of NFL football could really be. A 2004 draftee. By the way, did you know he's a grandfather? He's a grandfather at 44.
Mm-hmm.
Playing,
But
potentially.
if he gets picked up to an active roster, his clock for Hall of Fame eligibility resets. I don't know if that's in his head or not, because he's probably not a first ballot anyway.
No, if Eli wasn't, he's definitely not.
Right. So I think that would back him up another 5 years waiting for eligibility. I don't know if that comes into his mind or not, but
my theory on that, and then we'll sign off. This was not just a shot in the dark. I think this was in the work for weeks because we all know that Daniel Jones was playing through a fractured fibula. And then if something happened to Jones, they had no backup option besides sixth-round rookie quarterback Riley Leonard out of Notre Dame. I love Riley Leonard, but I think he deserves a little more respect than what he's getting, but he got hurt in that Jaguars game too. Anthony Richardson is not playing this year. He's on IR. The Colts have no quarterbacks. That's why they called this guy up. He played there in 2020. I don't think Rivers cares about the Hall of Fame. I think the Colts are just desperate. Shane Steichen's trying to keep his job. I mean, the Colts know if they have a late season collapse, Steichen's gone. Steichen's gone. Ballard's gone. They're in turmoil.
Do you re-sign Daniel Jones next year?
Well, that's another thing too. I think what they should do is, again, depending on how he recovers from the Achilles injury, give him another 1 year prove-it deal. And you have to tell his agent, I mean, you're working with an injury-prone quarterback here. He has been injury-prone since he's entered the league. This is 7 years of this shit now. He's had one season in 7 years where he has not missed a game due to injury, and that was 2022 with the Giants. You can't sit here and tell me that that man deserves another contract similar or even slightly less than what he got with the Giants. His agent, I'd imagine, is smart, should recognize that, call up athletes first and tell them right now, we love what Daniel did this year. We feel really bad for him. We'll help him through his rehab process. But if he comes back, it needs to be basically an identical contract to what we gave him this year, because that's what it was. It was a 1 year prove-it deal. I'd give him the same thing. If it doesn't work out, you eat the money for 2026 and then you part ways. That's what I would do.
No, that's fair.
I mean, what other option do you have? They're not going to be good enough to draft a quarterback. They're not going to be in position to draft a quarterback. This quarterback class was supposed to be great. It was supposed to be amazing, but it's not. It's really faltered. You know, Carson Beck were all supposed to be top QBs. Now, Nussmeier's kind of there, and then you got Fernando Mendoza as well, who I think is a bit overhyped. This quarterback class is not that great. Neither was last year's. You know, Arch isn't coming out. He's staying at least 1 more year.
Take a flyer on like Drew Aller or something, maybe. No, I don't. You're right.
He's hurt too.
It's not that good of a class, but I think that they're going to be married to Daniel Jones for that reason. At least 1 more year.
Well, we're getting married to Daniel Jones got our former head coach fired, essentially. He was never able – yeah, he was able to draft Jackson Dart. But to be honest with you, what good was it? He didn't win football games. He was married to Daniel Jones. That playoff win in 2022 set us back years. Looking back at it now, I'm glad it happened, but it kind of sucked that it happened, because we weren't in a position to draft good players in 2023. That 2023 draft class was awful. Look at it. Deontay Banks. Can't even tell. Oh, John Michael Schmitz was our 2nd-round pick. He's okay. He's average. Jalen Hyatt. Eric Gray. Trey Hawkins, Jordan Riley. Are you confident in those guys, George? Some of them aren't even
No,
on the team anymore.
no. Eric Gray's barely on the team. He was injured too, on top of that. But no, that was a terrible draft in 23. And they moved up for Hyatt, which you're basically making him a healthy scratch this whole year. I get that nobody really wants him, but they could have just cut him, pay him, whatever it is.
They moved up for Banks, too, by one spot.
He had a great rookie year, though.
He did, because he fit what Wink wanted to run. Again, here we go. Here comes Shane Bowen. He doesn't fit anymore. And if Banks was a good football player, he would have adapted to that scheme. You can't be a one-scheme player in the NFL. You have to have versatility if you're going to make it. And that's what made players like Michael Strahan so great for the Giants, the Jesse Armsteads of the world. They were able to play regardless of who the defensive coordinator was, right? If it was, I think we had Tim Lewis back in the day, Steve Spagnuolo, John Fox. These guys were, they adapted over time. Bill Sheridan. Oh, my God. Remember him? Not a lot of these guys were household names. I think, John Fox and Steve Spagnuolo were really our best two of that generation. And these guys are able to adapt over time. These modern players, a lot of them come out of school now, and they're not equipped. Why? Because of NIL. These schools care more about wins than actually developing talent. And all the players want is their money at the end of the day. And we're sitting here now trying to pull our hair out asking, why are these guys so bad?
NIL is the worst thing to happen in college football. All they did was come up with a legal way to do stuff they were doing anyway. Let's face it. They were sick of the scandals. They were sick of the watchdog committees, and they just said, nope, we're going to pay them. That's what they want. Some schools pay these guys a ton, and they come into the league as a rookie with $40,000 chains on. That used to never happen. Prior to NIL, the only player in my lifetime that I remember seeing look like he was a millionaire when he first got drafted was Deion Sanders. Outside of him, everyone else looked like they rented a suit and they were happy to be there. And then when they got to the team, that's when they had to improve to stay on the team to make that money. Because rookie deals used to be terrible. I mean, real terrible.
Yeah. I completely
Even when
agree.
Victor Cruz played, when Victor Cruz got that first rookie sign-on, he wasn't making anything.
You know why? Because he embodied what hard work, dedication, and his work ethic were all second to none. He was a UDFA out of UMass, one of the worst college football programs in the country. Victor Cruz was not supposed to make it to the NFL. The fact that
100%.
Cruz led the season, just led the league in receiving yards, just one season, that is a true underdog story. And nowadays, you don't see that anymore. Sure, Puka Nacua was a diamond in the rough. But nowadays, it's like, what are we doing with college football? And it's ruining the pros, too. College is becoming the pros.
And the transfer portal.
Every year. Jackson Dart transferred, too. He was at USC.
Everybody does.
Scadaboo's a little different because he went to junior college. He went to Sacramento State. That was community school. And he moved up to Arizona State. Like, that makes sense, right? You play 2 years at community college. You get your body in good shape. And then you elevate to Division I.
Right.
Now you got these guys switching teams all the time, and it just drives me insane. I respect guys like the Eli Mannings of the world, right? The Arch, I know Arch is an NIL guy, but he's going to stay at Texas his whole time. He's not transferring. I respect guys that stick it out through 4 years, wait their turn, develop, play well, and move on to the pros. you see more success stories in the NFL with those guys than you do all these other transfer guys.
100%.
Call me a 30-year-old boomer, but that's what it is at the end of the day. I get it. George gets it.
But it also teaches the player at a young age. If I don't like the coach, if I don't like other players, I can just go to LSU and try them out and see what they think of me. If I'm a running back and I'm not getting enough touches at, let's say Alabama, say they're playing behind another running back, you know what? Forget it. I'm going to go here and play. I'm going to go to Oregon and play and get more time and more money, and they're going to want me there. It's almost like it's a professional league again in college. That's all it is.
Yeah. And
so when they get to the next level, when they don't like anything, they want to leave. Instead of working on it, making themselves part of the nucleus of the team, they just think of it because it's embedded in their head about the transfer portal. In the NFL, all that is a trade block.
There's no surefire draft picks anymore, sadly, and it's hurting our beloved Giants. It's hurting, our pro football team. We have been unable to adapt and draft the right guys. I don't know what it is, a scouting department. I mean, a lot of these coaches come up from college, and I could sit here, go on and on. But, man, this was great, George. Had a lot of fun. Appreciate you joining the show, as always.
Likewise. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, definitely love to have you back again, potentially before the season's over. We'll see where we're at win-wise at that point. But on behalf of George Bristol, I am Tom Scavetta. Please check us out on all of our social media platforms for future episodes and content. Love one another. And without further ado, let's go Big Blue.